Australian life radically changed again overnight as the Prime Minister announced a new raft of measures in a bid to slow the coronavirus.
The Australian economy is expected to take its biggest hit in history when Wednesday's national accounts confirm the nation is officially in a deep recession.
Around 600,000 Australians losing their job in the month of April alone.
We were warned it was going to be bad, and it was. And the worst contraction in Australia's economy on record.
Whatever came across his desk, he'd just be, right, what are we going to do about this now?
Australia, like the whole world, has been through a time that none of us thought we would face.
Bushfires, a plague, floods, and now a war. I mean, one crisis in a term of government is probably expected, but 4 is quite extraordinary.
You always have setbacks. You always have imperfect information. The first thing you have to do in those situations is not moan about it, but fix it, and fix it as fast as you can.
When the National Security Committee first received the briefings on COVID, it was confronting, I think, for all of us. Advice around tens of thousands of people dying, our hospitals being overwhelmed, the economy going into free fall, a loss of confidence, people losing their businesses and their jobs.
There were discussions about how this would look alongside the Great Depression and whether or not we would be dealing with unemployment queues and business failures to rival what occurred. The scale of potential disaster was enormous.
I was seeing the local shops just slowly closing up.
We need to do the following things, and we need to do them now. We've got a couple of weeks probably, and if we don't get these restrictions in now and have them functional over the next couple of weeks, well, we could be looking at exactly the same thing that we're seeing on our screens in other parts of the world.
Making a decision to close a country like Australia?
I remember the morning going through the morning briefs of what had been occurring. I was looking at this and I going, we've got to shut the border and we've got to do it now. We've got to do it today. And then I rang every single one of the premiers. I rang Jacinda Ardern as well.
To protect our nation, to ensure that we were going to be in a position for the best possible recovery.
People looked to government for help and for certainty, and I think that's where Scott really stepped up. You know, he was a leader at a time when nobody really knew what was going to come next.
I think what people don't see in Scott Morrison, and what we see in a sort of a close leadership group or in the National Security Committee is just a complete calmness and an ability to methodically work through the options in front of us. And generally the issues that we're dealing with don't present easy options.
He's very good at getting across information very fast.
There was time and time again where Scott would sit down with the senior ministers and say, this could be the biggest decision that we'll ever make.
We were literally staring into the economic abyss, and the unemployment rate Treasury feared could reach as high as 15%. That would see more than 2 million Australians unemployed.
It was that conversation for them, what happens tomorrow? How am I going to keep my employees on? How am I going to pay my bills?
We responded with JobKeeper, which has been the most important economic response during this period.
JobKeeper was the single largest economic policy that has ever been implemented in Australia.
We were able to say to employers, yes, you've got to close your doors. Yes, you've got to close your doors. But what we will do is we will ensure you still have the capacity to maintain that really important connection with your employees.
It's helped put us in the position today where our economic recovery is leading the world.
People are relying on you, they're counting on you, and that is this job, 24/7. The uncertainty we've seen in relation to national security, regional security, has been completely transformed.
We must be very clear about the actions of authoritarian states and the unacceptable nature of their efforts, whether it is to coerce or to intimidate.
He really has been in charge of steering the ship through some of the choppiest waters that you could possibly imagine.
I mean, he made a commitment when he became the Prime Minister of this country that his every single waking moment would be focused on the best interests of Australia.
But when you stack Australia up against pretty much any other country, we've done far better in saving lives, saving jobs, and putting the country in a far stronger position than most others.
This is an economic plan that is working.
We're dealing with a world that has never been more unstable since the time of the Second World War. We're dealing with an economy which has more moving parts and more risks, but indeed many, many opportunities that we have to seize. I was at a trade school the other day in Brisbane, year 11 and 12. I asked them, I said, how many of you are going to start your own business? More than half of their hands went. How good's that? That's why I love Australia.
Authorised by Ayhurst Liberal Canberra.